All right, guys, if you're out there from Facebook, let me know because I'm only seeing YouTubers coming in right now. We've got about another minute to kick this off for Control Freak Wednesdays, so get excited. Hey guys, Terrence here. Our second Control Freak Wednesday. Oh man, I hope we get to do these over and over again because they're definitely fun. You definitely get to see what all you guys out there are doing. And this week I have Derrick Picker here. And Derrick is coming in from, where are you coming in from, Derrick?
I am in Arizona.
What part of Arizona?
I live in Gilbert, Arizona.
Gilbert, Arizona. So the
Yeah.
Control Freak Wednesday, while we got people rolling in here, we'll try to get some people rolling in before we get started too much with Derrick. But the idea is, this is all about you guys, the things that you're doing, what cool tips and things you might be able to give to each other that I can suss out of these guys, some of their secrets. And we'll do it every other week on Wednesday, the off weeks from Let's Talk Reef. So next week we'll be doing Let's Talk Reef on Tuesday at what is it, 5 in the afternoon my time, 8 on the East Coast. And we'll try to stick to 3:30 in the afternoon for Control Freak Wednesdays, again, every other Wednesday. As always, if you have questions, especially for myself or for Derrick, make sure to go ahead and fire them off because I am watching all the questions come in here. Nice to see Edwin. Edwin's coming in from Facebook. Aaron Offshore on YouTube there. Macy's Daddy. All sorts of people coming in. We've got quite a few people, 40 people now coming into this live stream, so it's pretty cool. So, Derrick, is it a good time of year over there in Gilbert, Arizona?
It's actually very cool this week. It was raining a couple days ago. The high today was 90.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
Getting to be the good time in
Yeah.
in Arizona for sure.
Oh yeah.
Get through the heat, and now you get that kind of shoulder season and into the beautiful winter that you guys have down there.
Yeah.
I assume Gilbert's somewhere around Phoenix.
I live approximately 15 miles southeast of Phoenix, downtown Phoenix.
Everybody gauges where they are in relation to Phoenix because guys like me, that's really the only place we know is Phoenix and then stuff around it. Although I did fly into what's the little town where they have all the little circle things and all the hippies hang out north of you.
Oh, Sedona.
Sedona. I flew in there once on my airplane to.
That's
to
where I
Sedona.
Asked my wife to marry me in Sedona.
Oh, beautiful!
It's
It's
a
a
wonderful
gorgeous
place.
Unbelievable.
Yes,
And
wonderful
they've got that church in the stone there that is carved in the stone, and the airport is right on the top of a bluff. So if you ever get a chance to fly into Sedona, it's beautiful because it's literally a bathtub full of rock with this plateau in the middle where they have the airport, and it's a gorgeous place, absolutely gorgeous.
Yep. Everyone loves going there.
All right,
usually for romantic stuff, but yes.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about aquariums, Derrick. So, Derrick, how long have you been in the hobby, man?
I've been in the hobby for probably 20 years, I would say. I had my first fish tank, my first saltwater fish tank when I was about 12 years old.
Wow.
I had my first freshwater tank when I was about 10. And I've loved this ever since I was a kid. Like, I knew when I grew up, I was going to have as many fish tanks as possible in my house, specifically in wall fish tanks, which now I have 2 of them. That was always my dream. My dream was to have a tank in the wall.
So, I mean, what was the big attraction early on? Is it obviously it's not corals because this is back when corals were just kind of getting kicked off of us 20 years ago or so, right?
My fascination was no one had a saltwater tank, and I'm the type of person who loves to do something that no one else does.
Right.
So I would go to fish stores and go, oh, I got a freshwater tank. Oh, I got a freshwater tank. And then the guys would come up to me and go, have you ever tried a saltwater tank? I go, no, it's too hard. It's too hard. And then that just drove me to want to do a saltwater tank even more.
Right. Right.
So I swapped it out.
there's a little bit of the God complex in all of us that keep reef tanks, no doubt. It's we're pulling the levers all the time, adding things, trying to make that balance, and trying to have what God put in the ocean in our living rooms. And that really attracts a certain group of people that like to have that kind of control. And of course, that's what we do here, is give you even more control over that environment.
And then when I grew older, I said I want to scuba dive. So that was my next goal. And then I went scuba diving to actually see what I have in my fish tank. And that was unbelievable. If any of you are out there, I highly recommend it.
Scuba is amazing. It's in all the different places that you can go. And if you are already into the hobby, do get into scuba if you can, because it gives you an entirely different appreciation for what you have at home. And you will find also that you scuba dive different than everybody else who doesn't keep an aquarium. Because you end up, you'd be with a group of, for me, 4 or 5 people, let's say, and they're all looking for gigantic pelagic species of things, and they're motoring along, right? Like they're on a quest to cover, mileage, and you're like, no, I'll just stay right here on this little bommy and look at these tiny little things and everything that's going on. What's under the rock and what's up here and what's
That's
there?
Exactly what I did.
And then all they're doing is like, come on. No. Yeah. And
like seeing all the stuff we have, like when I went, I saw a snowflake moray eel.
Yep.
And I used to own one, and I was like, wow, this is in the ocean.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic to see it in the ocean.
It's unreal, where you're trailing behind some Moorish idols or a couple of butterfly fish pair, or, it's really we're off topic a little bit here, but people, this is what people are into too, so it's fine. But definitely scuba diving. And so now what's the, are you on your dream tank now? I know I'm pretty much on my dream tank.
I believe the one behind me is my dream tank. This is number 3 in this room here.
Okay.
This, I believe, with all the bells and whistles I have, with all the upkeep that I'm very well versed in, this is definitely my dream tank. Okay. Being in the wall, just like I said, I've always wanted one in the wall. Okay. And it's 100 gallons, so it's manageable.
I'm going to put you on full screen. We're going to get this started here and stop with my boring talk, because nobody wants to hear me talk that long. They want to see some stuff. So I'm going to ask you to guide us through some things. So you'll hear me giving you a little bit of guidance and ask you some questions.
For me.
And kick you over onto that. Okay. So now I'm in my mini-me mode, and you've got the floor. So this is the big aquarium. How big is this aquarium?
So this is 100-gallon. This is my reef tank. This is actually a innovative Nouveau INT 100.
Okay.
Beautiful fish tank with the built-in overflow box. I've lost count of how many corals I have.
Okay.
I have a lot of frags. Cool. I always try new things.
Nice big brain coral there. Yeah, no doubt. You got that beautiful softy, that toadstool leather coral there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, beautiful stuff.
Obviously, I keep my acros up top. I do have a Crocea clam right there on the top.
So how long has this tank been going?
This tank's been going for 4 months.
Okay.
However, it was transferred from a 55 that was 8 years old.
Awesome.
So a lot of the stuff you see in here was transferred.
Okay.
Including the rock and including the coral. Brand new sand. I used a lot of new water, but also transferred some of the water.
Okay, so the first question I see in here from Macy's dad, he says, when did you get your first Apex? That's a good question.
I had an Apex Junior on my 300, which you're going to see shortly, right when I got it. When you guys first released it, probably like a week after you released it.
Okay.
And I actually, before that, had a Reef Keeper on it.
Okay.
So I learned about Apex from the fish store. They sold me on it. They said, you need to get rid of this Reef Keeper, put this Apex in. You're going to like it more. And I'm a programmer by trade. Right. So that's what I do for a living. So I was like, I want something that I can do whatever I want with.
Really, really get into it. Okay.
And there's my 3 Scullies. I got a couple other Euphyllias back there.
Some LPS going on.
There's my Acan Forest there. And then next to it, all right, so that's my Zoas. I'm sorry. Yeah. And then there's my Acans.
Cool.
And I got a rock of rockin' enemies. One of them decided to travel all the way back there.
Yeah, they'll do that.
He used to be over here. And then I got my big Squamosa and I've had him for a long time.
Uh-huh.
So it's fully packed. I
Somebody
don't
wants to
really
know if that's
plan
an
on buying anything.
Somebody wants to know if that's an Indo Dragon Soul Torch. I have no idea what that is.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm assuming they're talking about this guy right here.
Some torch, I guess. I don't know.
I got
Okay.
3 torches in here, so I'm not sure.
And this tank is lit with what?
I have 2 Radeon XR30s and a T5 system. It's a hybrid.
Oh, cool.
Here.
So is this the Aquatic Life hybrid or your own?
This is Aquatic Life hybrid.
Yeah, those things are really good.
Uh-huh.
Really nice.
I love it.
Really nice. So what kind of fish are in here? I don't see any fish, man.
Yeah, so I had an ick outbreak about a month and a half ago. All of my fish were removed, and they are in my guest room right now in quarantine.
I see.
They're going back in about a week and a half, and they're doing wonderful. And if anybody has ick out there, this is really the only way to do it, is to remove the fish, let the ick kind of die in the tank, and then put them back in.
Yeah, well, you must be a magician and be able to get your fish out of the tank, because there's no way I could do that.
I did. It took about a day, a lot of fish traps and a lot of movement, but me and my wife did it, and it was not easy. I mean, we only had 6 fish, but getting some of them, especially the blennies, were really tough.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
But we did it.
Okay.
And they're happy. They're doing
what's
great.
The next aquarium? You said you had 3?
I have 3 now. And I say now because one of them is brand new.
Okay.
Put in this weekend. And it has apex.
There's some nice floors. You don't want to get salt water on those floors.
Let me see if I can get the light a little bit better here.
Oh, so I had one of these in my office before.
Yeah. It's my 10-gallon nano.
Uh-huh.
And there's a few corals in there.
I see you got an Echo Dot there. Do you do the Alexa stuff with the Apex?
I absolutely do. I actually have Echo Dots in my ceilings in my house.
Oh, my goodness. There's a bunch of people out there that think you're nuts, man, with the whole...
I am.
They're listening in on you, Derrick. I'm just letting you know, man.
Well, you can let them know that my house is 100% automated. That's, again, what I do for a living. That's what my business does.
Cool.
So all I do is program Alexas, apps, you name it, I have it in my house.
All right. Well, Alexa just tried to respond to you there. So tell Alexa something. Give Alexa a command so these people know it actually works, man. Tell them to give you your status or something.
I'm trying to remember what the form. I don't do the Apex that often.
Alexa, tell Apex Fusion to give a status report.
Alexa, tell Apex Fusion to give us a status report.
The temperature probe named R-Temp is 77.9 degrees. The salinity probe named R-Salt is 34.6 parts per thousand. The temperature probe named F-Temp is 79.5 degrees. And the salinity probe named F-Salt is 30.6 parts per thousand. Would you like to rate Apex Fusion?
No.
There you go. Excellent.
Yeah. So I have a couple modules down here. These are all new.
Okay, so this is on an Apex Classic, or?
No, this is all in the same Apex.
Oh.
My entire house runs off of one Apex.
Wow, you crazy man. How did you wire that all up?
Going in the attic and running USBs.
Cool. Okay.
This one, luckily, is right next to my 300, which is on the other wall here. So I was able to just drill a hole and run a 30-foot USB to it. This one was lucky. This one was easy. The other one I had to run across the whole house.
So what kind of Apex stuff is on here? I see you got a PM1 there and a PM2, so you got your pH, your temperature, your salinity.
Mm-hmm.
You got an EB4 or an EB8 in there, I think. I can see.
And the FMM does my water level for my auto top-off reservoir.
Cool.
This will tell me if it gets low. And then the other optical sensor is in my overflow box.
Gonna have to get you a PMUP. Gonna have to get you a PMUP V2 on there, man.
I have 3 of them in my garage, so I might move it over here. And then I have a chiller. That's a chiller.
Yeah,
hanging on the side.
How do those Peltiers actually work? Because they take, a lot of energy just to get a little bit of cooling, right?
This thing was able to cool this from 82, which was, without a chiller, to 77 within about 30 minutes.
Wow.
Again, this is only 10 gallons, so it's not a lot of water.
Sure.
And if you consider with the rocks and everything, it's probably more like 7 gallons.
Right. Well,
so that thing does a great job.
And you have like a Kessel over it? Kessel light?
This is an AI Prime.
AI Prime? Okay.
And I'm actually controlling it through my Neptune through the IOTA configuration.
Very cool.
If people aren't familiar with that, you basically just put the IP address in and you can control it from Apex. It's quite easy, actually.
So Aaron Offshore is asking how many total modules between all 3 tanks?
We are now up to 32.
Wow. Okay. What's the limit now? Like 49 or something?
Well, Paul said it was 48.
Okay, 48.
And I'm going to get to 48. My plan is to get to 48.
Life goals, man. Life goals. Yeah, so for those of you that didn't hear, because I kind of stepped on him a little bit, all of the AI lights are controlled. You don't need a module or anything. It just works right through the network, through your home network to control them.
I have a WXM that controls my radions that you saw in the reef.
Correct.
So I do use the WXM for that.
Correct. Okay. So this is in your office. That's aquarium number 2.
And then my baby.
Uh-oh, here we go.
This is my 300-gallon no coral. This is a fish-only tank.
Beautiful.
And this is a 300-gallon tank with all fake coral, as you can see.
Of course, but it's got those fish in it that you just can't have in a reef, for goodness sakes.
Yeah, so I have a lot of different fish that are not reef safe, of course.
Right. Harlequin
there
tusk,
there was a large decision between me and my wife to convert this into a reef, which we could have.
Right.
But we would have had to get rid of probably half of these fish, and some of them I've had for 5+ years.
Right.
This tank is about 11 years old. It was repurposed with the doors and the woodworking and the painting.
Looks beautiful.
But the tank has been here for about 11 years, I would say. Thank you very much. I love it.
Do you have to clean the back wall from coralline, or coralline doesn't grow in here because of the way you keep the lighting and stuff?
Coralline really never grows in here. The lights are current USA 72-inch, and they're not very powerful.
Look at the size of that Anthias. You got a big old Anthias in there.
Well, look at the size of Mr. Flamingi.
Yeah, that Flamingi.
He's about 2 feet long.
Yeah,
this guy.
That's a
I got a Spanish hog that's getting very big.
Yep.
This Clarkie is actually the oldest fish in here. The Clarkie clownfish I've had for about 10 years.
And he's probably mean as heck, right?
Very mean. Yeah. But he has his 2 bubble tip anemones to keep him happy.
Those things will draw blood. I had one about that big in a frag tank that I had. Somebody had donated to me. So yeah, I know. Yeah. Look at the angels, and you got that beautiful, beautiful tang there, that Achilles.
Yeah.
How long have you had that Achilles? Tang,
so that's a good story, a quick story. The Achilles tang was in the 100 when I first got it up. He's the one that contracted ick right away. And that's how I found out we had ick. Removed him, quarantined him for about a month, and threw him in here, and he's never been happier.
Awesome.
Because this tank doesn't have ick, and never will.
Right.
As long as I'm careful, as I tend to be with this tank.
Somebody wants to know what kind of triggerfish that is.
That is a Indian trigger, or a Hawaiian. Actually, you know what? I apologize. This is Hawaiian black trigger. This is not an Indian trigger. This is a Hawaiian black.
And how do you keep all that rock so clean?
The rock kind of just clean all the time. I mean, I got a lot of fish, a lot of algae eaters.
Oh, look at that butterfly! Whoa.
Yeah. My favorite fish actually is a hawkfish. And the reason I love him so much, and I'll see if I can find him, is he's got a belly. There he is. You should see the belly on this guy. Let me figure out where the camera is. Oh,
probably ate all your cleaner shrimp.
I will say that all these corals have to be removed once a month and cleaned and bleached.
Oh, see, I'm out for that. That ain't happening.
It's about a 7-hour ordeal.
Yeah, you're a better man than me. That's never happening.
It's an undertaking and a half, to be honest with you, including, of course, the water change.
I mean, I'd have it if I had a service or something. All right, let's get into some of the gear before these people leave the stream, because these guys are all gearheads. They love fish too, but they want to see what's making all this stuff run. So let's see some panels. Somebody said, Aaron Offshore said, open up some panels already.
I call this Mario Brothers because I got a lot of tubes down here.
Oh, wow.
So the biggest thing we had to deal with this tank is it's a drilled tank. There are 8 drill holes in the bottom of this,
okay.
2 at each overflow and 4 in the middle. So that's why there's a lot of just pipes going to pipes going to pipes.
He has a closed loop, right?
We have 2 closed loops on the right side there.
Yeah.
So we got our Clarices, which one of them looks like I need to replace. We have a algae turf scrubber right there.
Cool.
You'll notice that I have a flow meter on it.
Yeah.
I have a lot of flow meters. I have a lot of Neptune stuff in general.
Well, I would hope so.
I'm going to squeeze the camera in here.
Okay.
And you will see the Neptune stuff just for this tank.
Okay.
There are, I think, 8 modules in here. We have a leak detector module. We have a PM1 for pH. We have a PM2 for salt. And we have leak detectors and the FMM for the optical sensors.
Why aren't you running your skimmer?
The skimmer is being run right now.
Oh, there
it's just really low.
It's set low.
I had to do chemi-clean treatment on this, and it's just taken a while to.
I have that same skimmer, man.
Do its thing. Yeah, the Regal, it's awesome.
Yeah, with the wiper
skimmer.
and everything. Yeah. Except I think I have I don't know if it's a newer or an older wiper. It's got 2 wiper blades on it, kind of a paddle kind of thing.
So I'm running ozone on this. I have an ozone generator back there.
Cool.
Into there, and that's how I'm able to get the water to look so clean.
Do you have to run?
So that's.
Do you have to run carbon or whatever to keep it from going out into the house?
I have never run carbon. This particular tank has a vent that vents out all the air from in here outside.
Okay.
Because you'll notice I have a chiller in here.
Right.
Being in Arizona, you kind of have to have a chiller on every fish tank, unfortunately.
Right.
So it vents out anything in here, including ozone, including any type of, anything.
Because that is an important thing for anybody who's listening. If you run ozone, there's nothing wrong with running ozone, but if you run a lot of ozone and you don't do something, with it through filter or what have you, it's not good to go into your house.
Yeah.
And it also
so you can kind of get
an
idea of all my Neptune stuff. There's an AV8 there. There's about 6 other modules. Just
do you
for
run
this
the
tank.
ozone based on the ORP in your tank?
I do.
So where do you like to keep it?
400 is max. So I let it run until it gets to 400, and then I shut it off. And I've never had any ill effects with anything in both tanks run at 400. I have ozone in the reef as well. So these are my 2 closed loop systems, one being my UV sterilizer, which is right here. And I have a flow meter on that as well. And then my other one goes just for my chiller. And the reason I have the flow meter is I can now set my UV sterilizer to exactly the flow that I want it to be. So right now it's set to protozoa and ick prevention, because algae isn't really an issue in the tank. So this helps me with any ick prevention. I have a little optical sensor in my container cup to tell me when that gets, full. I have a ton of leak detectors by you guys. I lost count of how many I have. I think I have 6 on this tank. I have so many in the garage when we get to there. I keep the salinity at 32 parts per thousand on here. I keep it in the reef about 35. This tank has 2 of your auto feeders as well. And the lights are controlled by an EB4 up here. Yeah, I got to continually fill those up, yeah. But there's some more automation right there. I got my battery backup for my MP40s, and I have the EB4 there to turn them off and on. Oh, no. Wire management, seeing as that's part of what I do for a living, is huge for me. I try to make this as clean as possible. So this door contains my battery backup for the system, a reef link, and another EV4. And the EV4 is strictly there to turn off and on the Vector pumps that I have. And then the reef link is strictly there because the WXM is too far away to this tank and it doesn't control vectors. So that's why I have a reef link. Yeah. So that battery backup is only hooked up to my main pump and to my skimmer in case of a outage. I got 3 of them, 1 in the sump and 2 on the sides there. This tank has a ton of flow. Okay. I'll give you kind of a okay. I found Mr. Hawkfish.
All right, you guys hear me now? Probably much better. I don't know what's going on with my mic, but I'll have to figure it out later. Not a big deal. Okay. Get back to Derrick and seeing what's going on.
I was just showing my Hawkfish.
All right, you guys should be able to hear me now. All right, so what else we got? What other gear we got?
All right, so now we go to my garage. That's where all the magic happens.
We didn't see magic already? It looked like we saw some magic.
So that's the fish tank you guys saw earlier.
Okay.
As you can see, it's in the wall here in my kitchen.
Right, and you got a little breakfast area, beautiful spot for having a tank, for sure.
And it shares the wall, luckily, with my garage. Ah. So what's nice is there is the magic.
Oh, how cool is that?
So a lot of people ask, well, where do all these modules come from? How do I get all these modules? So if you can see just in my water mixing station here, I have 2 FMMs. I have an EV4.
Okay.
This controls my liter meters, which control my automatic water changes.
Okay.
And how I have this hooked up and programmed is if the if the water level in the tank gets too high, it shuts off the liter meter. If it gets too low, it shuts off the liter meter.
Okay.
That way it avoids any type of over spillage or removal of water that obviously I wouldn't want. And that's what the F is doing as well for my containers here. I have a low and a high sensor for both of the containers to tell when I would like the RO system to turn on.
Okay.
Once the RO system turns on and once one of my bins fills, which is the S bin, the salt bin, I will get an alert on my phone that tells me it's full. You need to put salt in here.
Oh, too cool.
And until I put salt in here, the liter meters will not function until I tell them to. So that way I don't have to worry about.
So you don't have a partially mixed or
or
partially filled salt container? What?
I lost you, Terrence.
You lost me. You hear me now?
Yeah, you're good now.
Okay, interesting.
And then the other reservoir is my freshwater reservoir. And what's nice about having these both is they actually do both of my fish tanks. So I have a wire going into the attic right here that feeds my 300 in my living room. It's auto top-off water, and it's salt water for the auto water change.
Okay.
So both of my tanks have both of the same equipment, basically. I just doubled everything.
So one of the questions somebody asked is, why didn't you use a dose to do the auto water change like so many other people do?
Good question. I have 3 doses actually in this house. The one dose that I used to do auto water change was so loud due to the amount of water volume it needed to do the 300.
Right.
The 300 would require approximately 7 gallons a day for a water change to really do any type of benefit. And it was just too loud.
Understood.
That's really all it was.
Yeah.
So Spectra Pure, the company that makes these, is literally 10 minutes away from my house. So, and they know me well over there. So I just go in there and I tried theirs and I was happy with how this worked.
Cool.
The other problem is the dose. I'm sure it can handle it, but I have to travel the water roughly 70 feet from here.
Yeah, that's not a problem for the
300.
dose either. It's a peristaltic pump. It can go up like 23 feet and it can go hundreds of feet horizontally.
Right. So when I had it hooked up, while it was functioning just fine, it would take a long time because it's far away and it's a lot of water volume. So that's why I ended up not using it. But I saved my dose right here. So I have a dose back here, and it's dosing aminos for me.
Cool.
And I can actually add something to it if I ever want to, like a 2-part, or I have another dose sitting over here. So, and then here's my calcium reactor. And I'm using the Camor pump,
right,
which works fantastic.
You're using Julian's Reborn along with his Remag, it looks like.
Yep.
Good stuff.
Haven't had any issues with it. But based on a conversation I had with Hugh and some other people, I ended up programming my Apex so it just changes the pH inside the unit, and I keep it stable all day long.
And
I don't have to touch anything.
It's pretty awesome.
There's my toy. And I could tell you with certainty, Terrence, when I got this in my house, I was jumping up like I was getting something for Christmas. I'm not joking.
That's great.
I brought it to my wife, and she's like, what is this thing? I go, the greatest piece of equipment ever made. I'm not kidding. That's exactly what I said to her. I absolutely love this thing.
Yeah, popularity is still like crazy out there for them. It's still hard to get one, and we're producing them as fast as we can. It's
So I have a chiller down there and my battery backup down there. I have leak detectors on every single one of these just to make sure. There's my brains right there. There's my Apex. And again, this controls all 3 fish tanks.
I love the grill there. That's like so tech.
And then I have my iPad, which controls everything. I don't know if you guys can see very well.
We can see it.
But there's a lot of stuff on here. And one suggestion I always give you guys, for us crazy people, is to get like tabs or something. But for me, I know where everything is, so it doesn't really bother me.
So tell us like the one most geekiest kind of automation thing that you have that's set up that's like, wow, this does everything for me, or this is a really cool, like, maybe it's not that complex at all, but it's like one of the most convenient things that you found that you could do with the Apex.
Okay, so there's probably 2 things. The first thing is, I'm sure everyone out there hates taking pictures of their fish tank because it turns out blue. So I programmed a feed mode. When I hit feed mode B, it changes the spectrum of my Radion lights for me to I call it picture mode, and therefore I can take pictures of my corals. So that's something very simple, but very, very convenient for me.
Yeah, that is a really convenient thing to do, and it's a little trickier to do that with the Radions than for instance my lights, because you have to set up a separate profile, right, and then instantiate that profile. Yep.
So the second thing, which is kind of similar, is I have a clean mode and a maintenance mode button here. So all of my tanks have a maintenance mode, and they also have a clean mode. So when I hit clean, it changes my MP40s in here to the nutrient cycle and blows everything around and cleans my tank for me, which is fantastic. And then, of course, the reef maintenance mode is programmed to turn off and on specific things that I don't need when I'm putting my hand in the tank, such as the protein skimmer, such as the return pump. So those are really cool, and I love those.
Excellent.
And then I would say the coolest thing that I do was taught to me by you, and unintentionally, which is the pH in the calcium reactor.
Okay.
It's not that easy to program, I found.
No.
If you want to have the pH a certain way at a certain time of the day.
Yeah, I haven't done that
which is how I
step yet.
did it. Yeah. So I actually have a program so specific that I programmed some.
You must have a bunch of different VOs.
Yep. So I programmed it so I have a night and a day mode.
Okay.
At night, it's a different pH. At day, it's a different pH. And then I have my solenoid for my CO2 turn on and get to a specific pH depending on the time of the day. So during the daytime, it goes to 6.5, and then during the nighttime, it goes to 6.7. And cool. It's so great because there's no swings in my alkalinity, and my pH stays stable.
Somebody asked, is your Trident testing now? How often are you testing?
I test currently 6 times a day.
Yeah, that's what I do too.
I have done it when I was doing the calcium reactor testing. I was testing every hour.
Right, just to get a feel for it, right?
Yeah. And I'll show you. Hopefully, it's not too crazy.
So if you guys still have any questions,
screen.
For Derrick, push them through here so I can ask them. Let's see if I've got any more that I missed here, other than they couldn't hear me for some reason. We'll have to figure out later.
So I got
but that's why we have backup microphones. So,
yeah. So I got the AFSs up there, and then that's the Aquatic Life with the Radion with diffusers.
Mike McNamee says his status report on Alexa is filthy, but I found a workaround. I don't know what that means, but I don't know that
I don't know either. Unfortunately, I can tell you I have Alexas in my ceilings everywhere. There's one here in my garage, right up here.
Oh, wow.
And I don't use the Neptune for anything except the maintenance modes. So I can be, if I have my hands in the tank, I can say, Alexa, turn on the maintenance mode.
Mm-hmm.
That's really all I use the Alexa for in terms of my fish tank.
Right.
However, in my home, the Alexa controls my shades, my lights, my TVs, my garage doors,
oh yeah,
everything.
I'm pretty geeked out about that too, and the kitchen lights and the all the TV stuff. It's connected to my Logitech, remote control, so you can just say.
So, I got some more Neptune stuff. If there's a cabinet, there's a Neptune product in it. There's another EB8 and an FMM for this area of the tank. I have flow sensors on just about every pipe here. I got one here. I got one back there for my turf scrubber.
It's always awesome to have that on hand. And then for things like a turf scrubber, or if you're using carbon or GFO or any of these, you want to get the right flow rate. And then after you clean it, you want to get it back to the right flow rate.
Yeah.
It's just so much simpler.
So this is a little interesting. I bought 2 of your ATK kits with the plunger or whatever, the stopper and the float switch. And I removed it, and I actually put my own sensors here. And a lot of people ask me, well, why do you do that? All of these are through peristaltic pumps, including my auto top-off. Through both tanks, go through a peristaltic pump. So generally, they're not going to overflow. And if they do, I have a high sensor here that will alert me that the sump is getting too high. I also have a salinity monitor, of course. I've been running it like that for many years, and I've never had a problem. Now, I do have a float switch in both of these guys, of course. The RO, you never know what's going to happen with that.
Oh, for sure. So
I don't know if you kind of saw what I got up here.
Oh, that's cool.
So there's my reef bot.
Yeah. How's that working out for you? I
use that for nitrates and phosphates.
How's it working out?
I can say with certainty, and I'm not just blowing smoke up your butt, the Neptune I installed, worked day 1, haven't had a problem since. Installed that, I'm fixing it on a daily to bi-weekly basis.
Yeah, it's more of a project thing. It's definitely neat, and it's a tinkerer's product. There's no doubt. I like those guys, and I really commend them on going after the innovation. But if you're kind of an average aquarist, it's probably, and you don't like getting your hands dirty in terms of tweaking on things, then it's probably not your thing. There's something for everybody, and that's not one of those products that's going to be for everybody. That's for sure.
Right.
For sure.
The nitrate and phosphate tests great, and it works. Unfortunately, the big three that this guy does, for my own sanity, I decided to try it on there because I was like, I'm going to see if this thing does better than the Trident.
Right.
Unfortunately, I can tell you, I had many issues with alkalinity and calcium and magnesium, and the amount of impreciseness, is that the right word?
Yes.
Was astonishing.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that was the biggest flaw, and I can tell you, day one, 0 issues. I had one small issue with my calcium, which you guys rectified, but I love plug and play. Plug and play, no calls, and I'm a happy guy. And, I got a lot of Neptune stuff, so if I plug something of yours in, it doesn't work, I'm like, I must have done something wrong.
Well, here's a funny one. Ron Nomeyer, okay? It says, stop the A word. I think he doesn't like the fact that we keep saying Alexa, 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 Alexa. And all of his gear must be going off.
Yeah.
And we got Cody. Cody just joined us. Cody from Southern California just joined us and says, Mini Terrence is awesome. That's pretty funny.
Well, the question is, Terrence, do you have this much stuff on your fish tank?
No, I do not.
Okay.
And I can assure you it's not that neat because I'm always adding and subtracting and playing with things and different gear. But hopefully I've got a friend of mine, Brian Lincoln, who's from Tenji. He's tentatively made a date to come out and help me with some of my gear and maybe straighten some of it out because I am not good with keeping
wire
things
management
straight and wire management and all of that.
Yeah.
Do you have a question here,
Steve
Simon?
Too.
Steve Simon's got a question for you. He wants to know if you're willing to share your coding for the Trident and the calcium reactor online.
Yeah, just have them message me on my. I actually have a Facebook group for automation, strictly for Neptune automation.
So just go post out there on the Neptune group, or send a private message over there to Derrick Picker, and you can get the info, Steve. If he wants to post it to the group, that'd be great too. Joseph Fernandez is asking, how does the WXM work with your Radions? Does it work well? Just ordered one.
Works fantastic. It actually works so well that I used to have 2 lights on it, and they would get controlled so far away I had to get another WXM. That was a long time ago when I had Radions on my big tank.
Right.
Yeah, they work fantastic. They work from like 75 feet away with no problem.
Yeah, Bryson McLaughlin says, mine connected fairly easily. Pretty happy with the interface to Fusion. Had to reset them. It's a little bit hard to get them on first, but now everything's just fine, pretty much is what he said. And Alex Patina says, Control Freak Wednesday for Terrence's tank. Someday, if I can clean it up and not feel embarrassed for some of the, like I said, all the wire stuff and everything, I'm definitely going to do it for you guys. At a minimum, we'll do another show in front of the tank so you can at least see the corals coming in and all of that. But I don't know how much behind the scenes I want to give you and be embarrassed about. At least
let me show you this real quick. I'm very OCD with my wiring. I don't know if you guys saw, but all of my wiring is nice and neat.
Are you rubbing it in? Is that what you're doing, Derrick?
I'm just saying that if you need some help, I do this for a living.
Okay.
But my point I'm making is I label all of my wires. You'll see every one of them have a little white sticker on them.
Right.
You never know if you have a problem. You need to.
Oh, I know what you're supposed to do. I never have any problem with knowing what I should do. It's just a matter of doing it. I was just going to mention about the solenoids here. I do have 2 of your solenoids, and they're on a Y here from my RO. And I actually programmed them so when this one's low, turn one solenoid on. And when this one's low, turn on the other solenoid. Cool.
And it works great. I love those little solenoids.
Well, that's way better than what I've done, because you'd think I would do that on mine. I've got 2 little valves, and I turn one off and turn the other one off with my hands.
Yeah. I am the epitome of a lazy reefer. Unfortunately, with my job and the fact that I have 3 fish tanks,
right,
I have to kind of not be that hands-on sometimes. So this allows me to have some flexibility. And when I leave my house, on vacation, I don't have to worry about things,
right,
going wrong.
Oh, I'm totally with you there. And it's just that it's also that peace of mind that you can just see whatever, all the time, like, oh, okay, it's good to go. I know some people say, look, I'd rather just not know and deal with it when I get home. But that's not so much me. I if I'm, I'm on vacation somewhere or whatever, I can just look down at it and go, yeah, everything's good. And then I'm good for another 4 to 6 hours.
Yeah. I mean, you leave town all the time. I left town a couple years ago and came home and all my fish were dead.
Oh man.
And that was before I had the Neptune, and it was a terrible day, like emotionally, like,
oh, I can't even
put
imagine.
all this into your, and then, this is at the point where Neptune wasn't a thing. This was probably 10 years ago.
Right.
I don't know if you guys were even around back then.
Oh no, we've been around for 24 years. So yeah.
Okay. And I told this story to one of my friends. I put a little light switch underneath my fish tank that was coded into my automation system in my house. If that lost power, it would turn on my TV in my bedroom and wake me up.
Oh my goodness.
It would turn on, the volume would completely go haywire, and it would wake me up. And I'm actually getting to a point where I might be able to do that with the Neptune. I just haven't had a
Well, there was
chance.
There was that mini presentation in our speed round at MACNA that Jeff Stevenson gave that basically went over how he used a little control box that would take the inputs from the Apex and change lighting, and he had lighting behind his TV, and it would change the lighting color behind his TV depending on if it was just like, well, something's not quite right, or this is like an emergency, right?
Well, you guys provide the XML, which is nice. Providing the XML allows me to, parse whatever I want to take out of that, and then feed it to I have Crestron, if you're familiar with that.
Absolutely.
Crestron system. And then I can make the Crestron do whatever I want. But I also do power management. I use the 12-volt power on the brain, which not a lot of people know how to do, to do power management.
Yeah, that is really a cool thing, too, so that whether it's if you have 2 circuits for your aquarium and you just kind of want to know if one of them went out, or if you want to change, you have a bunch of stuff, let's say on a backup batteries or or another power source, and you want to sense when the power goes out so that it changes the programming and changes, so it extends the life of that battery set. Because small battery backups are nice, but if you have a real serious tank, you can set up a bank of batteries with an inverter and actually and a power transfer switch, and have quite a good length of time that you can run your aquarium just off of batteries. Most power outages, especially where we are in the West Coast, are less than a day. Most of them are probably less than 3 hours of the power outages that we have. And while 3 hours starts to be like this for your tank, 3 hours on a battery bank of 2 or 4 golf cart batteries can last quite a bit, especially when you only have the pumps come on every 5 minutes. They come on.
Yeah, I do a lot of programming based off of power. A lot of programming, and the if error command that you guys released is huge, because knowing if one of your power bars go out of power when everything else is fine is terrific.
Yes.
And then you can know exactly which one's bad or having an issue.
Yeah, that's definitely level 500 stuff there, Derrick. No doubt. Well, hey, I'm going to start wrapping this up, Derrick. We're going to take 1 or 2 more questions. It's been great having you. We've run a whole hour, which is more than I usually do, which is testament to how much stuff you have. Somebody asked, what's the name of your automation Facebook group?
It's Reef Automation.
Reef
Very
Automation.
Easy.
There you go. And somebody else asked when they're going to be more made so they're available to the public. We make more every day, so keep looking. You will get one for sure. And then somebody, mostly Reef, said, do you make an adjustment from the Trident results manual or via your Apex? Like we said, he's got programming that adjusts the pH level in the reactor. Changing the pH level in the reactor changes the concentration of calcium carbonate in the fluid.
Correct.
And therefore, if you're dosing at a consistent rate, that fluid, using any kind of dosing pump that you may be using for a feed pump, then it's going to change the concentration in the calcium reactor and how much is going into the tank. It's just like adding more or less of your two-part, basically.
And I do like you probably do. I do use the alkalinity information from the Trident to shut off the pump in case it gets too high.
Yes.
And that's mainly just for safety.
Yep, absolutely, yeah. All right, well, I think that's about it. I don't know that we have any more specific questions, but it was definitely great having you on here. Thanks for being a great member of the group, and
I love it. I love your stuff.
For
Keep
sure.
Making cool stuff. The first cool thing you make, I'm going to have it. Don't worry.
Hopefully you can get to that level of modules, but I think you'd probably be better off getting another base unit. Just saying, might be a better idea than putting all your eggs on that one basket, because that's a lot of stuff, man. That's a lot.
I have a backup. I have a backup one.
Yeah. Oh, you do? Okay. Well, there you go.
I have a backup base unit. Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, this wraps up another Control Freak Wednesdays. Hopefully, we'll be doing these every other Wednesday. So join us in 2 weeks for another one at 3:30 Pacific time. And don't know who we'll have on then at that time. Maybe we'll have Matt Dudley. I see him rolling here. He already offered to come on. He's got an incredible system out in Florida. Tons and tons of fish and corals like you've never seen. So hopefully we can get him in 2 weeks maybe. And you guys can see what he's got going on. Until next week when we do Let's Talk Reef at 5 p.m. on Tuesday. I'll see you guys then. Thanks so much for joining us. And,
thank you, Terrence.
Have a great one, guys. Enjoy the corals, not the fish.